Hey guys, Reviews More, back with a quick review. This is on a security system by a brand called SMONET. It's a DVR security system, and basically that's a nice way of saying this thing's made from China, and it's a Chinese brand. So it's a Chinese camera, Chinese receiver with a Toshiba hard drive, HDD hard drive in the box, and it's all multiple brands use the same software, but this is from that company called SMONET, and the total price for this 4-camera 1080p 960p, because both terms are used on the listing from Amazon, was about $210. So not super expensive for 4 cameras and a receiver, but this might be a little big example of you get what you pay for as far as utility and usefulness. You're going to see a night vision test towards the end and a latency test towards the middle of the video, and I'll put timestamps over top of my voice talking right now. Essentially, the setup's very, very simple as far as getting the actual box in place where it needs to be. Once you get the cameras unboxed, you're basically just making sure that all the PC parts are there, make sure all the cameras have properly attached antennas, make sure that you have all the mounting materials in case you need them. But as far as what it comes with a Ethernet cable. There's no HDMI cable that comes with this, so you have to provide your own. You will get 4 cameras, a receiver box, antennas for all items. There should be 2 for the box, and there should be 4 for the cameras. All should already be attached. If they're not already attached, it might indicate you got a used item or returned item somehow, but you never know. And power cords for all of them, which are fairly standard power cords, and there's interchangeable ones as well. So from here, we get to see the actual cameras themselves. Sorry for the lighting. This is just my kitchen lighting. Here's how they plug in. There's a female end on every camera. Each camera has 2 different plugs. One is for the power, which you're seeing right here, and one is for the Ethernet. The Ethernet is specifically for camera setup. Your cameras should arrive plug and play. If they don't arrive plug and play, there's a process where you basically just plug an Ethernet cable into the camera itself as well as the receiver box, and then you press match code on the instructions and it sets it up. The instructions should be in the box. I'm not going to go through that here because all my cameras worked properly, and I didn't want to disable one to just have to re-enable it to show you the video. All right. So there we have the box itself. All those lights will be on, telling you things are going good. And here's the plug and play happening right here. So that's NVR, network video recorder. You will see that every single time you turn it on. If you ever have a reason to turn it off, it'll pop in, and the cameras will slowly pop in and populate as the receiver begins to recognize them. And it shouldn't take too long. And there, as of right now, there's no delay in the recording. Some of these have issues as time goes on, like their hard drive just can't handle it after a while. But with the hard drive appears to be new, and the recording is happening properly. There's a playback option, obviously, because they're security cameras. But the major thing is the picture quality is pretty good. What you're seeing there, if you can see this in the video, is some artifacts from the screen being a different frame rate than the camera is recording, and that's not going to be seen. So there's a little checkerboard pattern you're seeing there that doesn't actually exist in the screen. You also might be seeing some blipping or some what looks like flashing, or maybe I guess you maybe describe it as flicker. But that is actually from the light bulbs I'm using for the lighting. They're very cheap LED light bulbs, and for whatever reason, the camera is able to pick up the very, very slight difference in light as the light is operating, I think, at a 50 hertz outlet, so that's why you're seeing some blipping going on. Once you see this outside or with night vision turned on, you don't see that anymore. That is not from the cameras. That is specifically from the lighting source I have, which was very low-end LED lights. So that's my fault. Once you see them outside, it looks fine. All right, well, real fast, just a quick night vision test. This is not for distance. These are rated for being clear up to 65 feet at night vision. I can tell you that it's not quite accurate. I would say you might get maybe 30 feet to where you're like, I can tell who that is. But as far as getting real distance on these, I say 65 is a little bit too far, a little too generous from the listing. Also, I've never seen the term 960p. I don't know where they even came from as far as, like, I'm not really sure why it says that, but it says 1080p and 960p on the listing, so I think that's just one of those little Chinese translations where they're trying to get, more and more traffic on their page. But as far as their functionality, they work pretty well, considering how much they cost. You're talking about $200 for 4 cameras and a receiver, so fairly inexpensive, all things considered. And also what you might be seeing is that little green Wi-Fi symbol. It can take up to, it is fully loaded right now because the cameras are right there. It doesn't take much for that to drop down. So I would say the fair distance on these is only going to be about 20-30 yards max. If you're going beyond that, you're probably going to lose signal. later on you're going to see an outside test where these things are about maybe 15 yards at most away, and they go down to only two bars, which is basically losing half of its connectivity. It does not cause any extra latency. It does not cause any lag in recording time. It's just a matter of the signal not being quite as strong at distance. So that if you need something to cover a large amount of square footage, you might want to look elsewhere, or you might want to look at a different system that's going to have maybe stronger antennas or stronger cameras. And now we'll jump into the latency test. You just see me holding up a peace sign and seeing my glorious face right there. Just running through it specifically just to show you. It's about a half second maybe. So it's a pretty bad latency for a high-end camera, but this is not a high-end camera. So for us, this works just fine. You get about half second of latency to deal with. But other than that, it's okay. And next you're going to see just the outside setup and what it looks like on the inside. You're going to see a pretty susceptible drop in connectivity on that bars thing. The little Wi-Fi symbol will go from like fully loaded to down to 2 bars. Sorry about the noise, but that right there on our wall is about where the receiver is. So if you just want point of perspective, it's got through a brick wall, some tile, drywall, everything else. The cameras are about over there. So they're about 10 to 15 yards away maybe. And we're going to go see basically how well they work at a distance and see if that the screen flashing kind of goes away. Alright, got the lights on. Alright, we got the lights on, and it looks like the screen flicker is gone. That little bit of, what you see those lines there, those are not actually visible on the cameras. That's a result of the camera processing at probably 60 frames per second, where the TV might be going a little slower, a little bit faster, and that's just throwing it off slightly. That's just an artifact from the camera to TV exposure. So that's not there. So that on that concrete where you're seeing those little lines, there's no lines when you actually look at it. So don't worry about that. That's the general quality right there as far as what you get out of the look. Let's just click on one in particular. One thing I did notice is that if you look at the previous section of this video, you notice, I'll click on this one. Probably can't see it super well, but go over to here. Let's just zoom in a little bit. It's only about half signal, and that's through a brick wall and 10 to 15 yards away. So when we were in the house, obviously with the stuff right on the kitchen table next door to it, it had full signal, which is pretty obvious it's going to have that. But definitely a loss in overall signal strength, which is a little disappointing. Other than that, it looks like everything else works fine. We'll probably get these things set up as long as we can make this work properly. And also, you can always relocate your signal box if you have the ability to. But as far as that, like a brick wall, sheetrock, tile, maybe the cabinetry if you want to count that, that's all that's standing between this and about 30 to 40 feet of distance. So you're talking about maybe 10 and a half yards. Sorry, 10 to 15 yards, excuse me. And you're losing a lot of your signal out of that. So it makes me a little worried about what it's going to do when it's finally set up for real, but we'll take a look at that once it's done. Now that I know that screen flicker was just an artifact of the light bulb, was not as a result of the light itself, we should be good to go. Alright guys, and here's the night test. So in that bottom left quadrant, that is a backyard that basically has no lights emitting from it except for our neighbor's back house over there. And the light you're going to see test at the top left, that's going to be zoomed in on and made larger for me to, and you're just going to walk back and forth. The night vision on this is not great in my opinion. I would not use these if you're definitely trying to identify people coming onto the property, but it's better than nothing. They work. The amount of clarity and definition you get from this, not that great. I was a little unimpressed by it. You can see vehicles, cars, that kind of stuff, but it says 65 feet of focus with night vision. I don't think it's that much. 65 feet on this particular area would probably be about to where those garages are. You might see a little where that light is towards the center of that top left screen, and we'll zoom in on that in just a second. But that's about maybe 100 feet, and I walk all the way out through it in the test, and I'm blurry and dark, so it's not terribly effective. And much before that is going to be around that 65-foot range, and it's just not great. And the zoom on it, you don't get anything better. You don't get a CSI or nothing. So that's basically what you get out of it. And here's the actual quick test. We're going to just very quickly show you how we can click on it. All you got to do to focus on one feed or one channel is double click, and it opens it up. And I'll zoom back out here. And if you want to actually zoom in on a certain part, you take the mouse, wherever your mouse cursor is located, and you slide the third mouse wheel up or down, it'll zoom in on that portion. So you go down, select zoom from the bottom of the window, and wherever that mouse cursor is, as you scroll in with that rotor, the scrolling thing on the mouse, the little third wheel, but the mouse wheel, it'll zoom in. So you can see kind of some definition. You see a little piece of lawn art and some cast iron benches, but it's not amazing. I wouldn't call this 1080p at night vision, so right there I don't think it's quite meeting those standards, but it's more effective than nothing. Certainly, if nothing else, it's effective in being able to see probably a car license plate if you had to see that kind of stuff, a general general description of a person might, and for those who are in the unfortunate predicament where they might need to recognize somebody, if you know who the person is, you'll be able to tell who it is. But there you see me. I'm wearing a blue shirt here. Give you a point of reference. But right there, as I walk by, that's probably about 70, 80 feet, and then you're probably getting close to that 100 mark right if I were to go past that light and that little, and I'm not even visible. So that's not terribly functional. So I'm a little disappointed in that, but overall, pretty happy with the whole how well the whole thing did. For $200, I'd say it's pretty good. So thanks for watching, guys.